Yeah. Digital.
Hey,
Make me feel very comfortable and relaxed.
we'll get going here.
Yeah, oh, this one?
This is the
Nice.
July 23rd meeting of the Trumansburg Planning Board, and I call it to order. And first order of business is to ask for a roll call of the members who are present, including the staff, the professional staff who's here. So we'll start with you, Michelle.
My name is Michelle Matrani. I'm planning board member.
Jimmy Lynch, planning board member. Mike Bailey, code enforcer.
Code enforcer. I like that. Yeah.
Code zoning officer.
I think of you as an officer.
Situations.
And Rick Geiger, chair of the planning board.
Jessica Weber, village deputy clerk treasurer.
Sarah Kennedy, planning board member.
Great. And I haven't heard from Mark that he's not going to be here, but we'll go ahead and get going. We had, did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was March 26th? Yeah, I know.
Fun.
It's been-
I'm embarrassed to say that I did not say aye to our motion to adjourn.
You're still here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never do that again.
Okay, that's gonna
That's a
create a
demerit.
problem.
Yeah.
I've been in session for that long. Okay. All right, are there any corrections or additions? So, all right, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I will move to have them accepted.
Okay,
as presented.
is there a second?
I said that.
Jimmy's gonna do that, okay, further discussion of any kind? Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, so our main order of business this evening is to go back to 1 East Main Street, which we haven't been to in this setting anyway.
We're going on our second birthday, I think, soon.
I think the last time we talked about this was in the fall. And a lot has happened since then. My goodness, you know, tremendous amount of work done and, you know, beginning to be able to see, you know, visualize even better, you know, what your ideas are for that piece of property.
People keep when we walk past, they're like, what is that park going to be? And I'm like, I think it's the dumpster enclosure, but it's like really nice.
Yeah, you know, some of the drawings, you can't necessarily show all of the elevations from all of the angles, right? And so you don't necessarily have an idea of a clear idea, unless you're an architect, or you think like an architect, you know, and Phil, sometimes I think, you know, you have an architect's mind, you know, you sort of visualize these things, but, yeah, it's hard sometimes to, you know, derive from the drawings that we have and the schematics and stuff, you know, the elevation changes and the height kinds of things, and, you know, but it's becoming clearer and it's looking good. So we're here tonight, you know, to talk about, I think of this as sort of a fluid, site plan review because of the situation, because of the property, because of all of the variables involved. And so we've, you know, unlike most of all of the site plan reviews that I've been involved with, you know, you work through all of the sort of stuff that's going to happen and everything sort of gets laid down in stone. And then you close the site plan review and construction starts, and unless there are big changes or big, you know, hurdles that arrive, you never, you know, do anything again. And it all falls onto our professional staff to sort of keep up with what's going on with the construction. This one has been different. And I think rightly so. We're, you know, sort of going with the flow as it develops because of, you know, just the situation and how it's been conceptualized. And I think that's fine. I think, you know, there's no reason the site plan review process has to be, you know, rigid. We can be fluid. And so that's what we're doing. And this is just another example of that. You know, we're continuing to evolve this site as the construction process goes on, and as I guess the ultimate use becomes more clear. And so that's what, you know, I see this meeting as tonight, is to sort of catch us up. And then also try to project into the future and anticipate what some of the proposed changes that are before us might do and how we can proceed with those changes. And so that's why I decided to put this on the agenda for tonight. It's totally in keeping with how we've handled this project. And what we'll do, depending on, you know, what we hear tonight and what we decide, is, you know, we'll either kind of reopen an existing site plan review and go through the process of public hearing and things like that with respect to the changes, or we'll decide, you know, they're not so significant that we need to do that. And so with that little introduction, what I'll do now is ask the applicant, Phil McGuire's here, to, you know, give us a little summary, walk us through the drawings that you've given us and give us the perspective on what's happening now and where you think things are going to be going.
Sure. So yeah, the project has been a lot of design build, which is why the fluid process has been very helpful for us. And it's just been enhanced as we found opportunities, you know, throughout the build process, really. And so it's been ever changing. And what you have in front of you is really the most current of a lot of questions. You know, some things were tentative, some things were you approved, you know, A or B you were comfortable with. And so this is more of a depiction of where we are today with more of a finalized look for the exterior, more of a finalized look for the site plans, a lot of minor, what I would describe as minor changes to the original drawings. And then, of course, we have one major change for you to review, which is an accessory outbuilding with the project. But really, I think you're all familiar with the original plans. And so I'd be happy to go through Q&A with whatever questions you have about the project or about the changes we're making. In a nutshell, we have altered the patio, we'll start at the upper patio. We altered the upper patio where we put in a rear facing flip up window on the back of the building. So this is the opposite of main, the rear of the building that, I guess faces the neighborhood side. And due to that change, we put in a lower patio. We took what was originally a larger upper patio setup and we kind of split it in half and we made a lower patio as it's a different elevation. So as you know, there's a slight hill there. So the three patios are at different elevations. So you'll see kind of more of, and I guess we can maybe, I'll try to hold the mic and flip pages and.
Yeah, it's hard with the large print, but that's okay.
No, yeah. But I guess specifically, I might flip to C 1.1.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yep.
How's that? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess I'm specifically referring to C 1.1 is a good depiction of the rear patio section. And you can see on the left side, just behind the rear of the building, that is an alternate patio with an arranged stone seating bench that is changed from the original plans. So it's all the same landscaped area. It's all the same stone and patio area. It just got redesigned so that it's a little more antiquated, or not antiquated, but connected to the actual building itself in that section. In addition, there's another small section that comes down from the parking lot that is a higher, it's next to the EV charging station. That is an addition of a very small patio that's right there. And the intent for that is either to be a very small sitting bench. It could be a two-person sitting area that is elevated above the lower patios that is near the creek, that has a good view of the creek. Or it is a really nice size for maybe a bicycle rack could fit there and kind of have multi-purpose. So that's also an addition.
So I'm sorry, where exactly is that?
So if you look at the parking lot, the
Yep.
first EV charging parking spot. So this is left of the dumpster enclosure.
Okay.
There's two
yep,
spots.
Yep.
So
yep,
that's an EV. Those are both public EV charging stations.
Okay.
So you'll see the stonework right off the corner of that parking spot, left of the dumpster enclosure.
Yes.
That is a new addition.
Okay.
And that is elevated, so it's at a higher level than the lower walk patios. So it has a very nice kind of overview of the creek, but it could serve as a very small, sitting area, or it could serve as a perfect size for a bicycle rack
Mhm.
usage. So that's in addition. The lower patio is just the most updated of what was actually built. There were some on-site changes, very small, changes that weren't mapped out very well in the first design that was submitted here. So this is more of an accurate depiction of what is actually there. And I think when you take a look from the bridge, you kind of see this very clearly, but it kind of gives you the bird's eye view of what is made. What's happening now is if you scroll to the left of this diagram towards the building, you will see an additional sitting bench, which is right below the building. So this is the transition of where the lower patio goes to the mezzanine and the steps that go down to the mezzanine that enters the basement of the building. And that was enlarged and was a sitting bench built into the hill for that little section.
You can kind of see that transition from the lower patio to the new mezzanine a little bit easier on 1.0 because it's just zoomed out a little bit so you can see where it connects to the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And
Sorry.
no, that's great. Thanks. And well, yeah, essentially that just expanded a little bit and a bench, a built-in stone bench was added there. So these are all, again, what I would describe as very minor updates to the original drawing that was submitted previously. So the other updates are really just the Union Street building side. So originally we had an option for 2 tenants or 1 tenant, and we ended up going with a 1 tenant design. And so we ended up with 1 service door on that side. And so you have just a cleaner drawing of 1 service door. That service door is actually a glass service door, and it has a same black frame, but it's glass, but it just has frosted glass 3/4 of the door. So you really don't see through to the service area, but it still mirrors, all of the black frame and clear glass that's in the rest of the building. And that, I think, is
Those are the sort of minor.
A 1.2, you can kind of see the single service door there on the side.
Yeah.
And then moving on to
Yes.
the other alternate was, do we have access to Main Street with the mezzanine? Does the mezzanine run all the way down the building, or just does it access from one side or the other? And what we ended up with, because it was single tenant usage, and some other, miscellaneous reasons, we ended up with the mezzanine that you see in A 1.2, which just is to a single door in the back. And then we're converting the other side to a window that would kind of match the upstairs windows. And on that note, the mezzanine itself is a tubular black framed mezzanine, and it's designed to have the same patio, bluestone treads and bluestone patio as the surface of the actual mezzanine itself. So the patio will kind of blend right into the mezzanine as you're on it. Yep. And the railing that will be on the mezzanine will be similar to all the railings that will go down the creek side, and will match, with all kind of a black cable railing that will be around the site for the stairs and the outdoor patios and stuff. And then last but not least, there was some conversation. Obviously, we're gonna skim the concrete below the block. So the old section of building is going to be skimmed and painted so that it'll all match and be cleaned up. Right now, it's just kind of a broken concrete, and it's a little bit of a mess. And on that note, there was some question about possibly doing a mural below the block, a new mural for that section. And so I do have a question, if that's a planning board item or if that's approval process. If we chose to do that, there's a current one there now that's kind of peeling and fading. Yeah. So on the creek side, below the block is just the concrete where the mezzanine actually is. And there's currently an old partially painted picture of a scene where you're kind of going through, I think, under the bridge a little bit. Yep. And so there's some thought of, once that's all cleaned up, reskinned, maybe doing a more, up-to-date mural under there.
Yeah.
Yep. Or not,
Well,
depending on.
let us know. I mean, I think our attitude on that kind of thing in the past has been, we generally don't tell people how to paint their buildings and
Yeah.
things like that, but we we like to make
Yeah.
them consistent with what fits in around it, you know, that's our sort of
Yeah.
only real input on that kind of thing.
Does a solid gray concrete painted wall fit in, or does a colorful mural fit in?
It depends. Yeah,
Depends on the mural.
it depends on the mural. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd favor not a gray wall. But I also thought, I mean, maybe this is just misremembering, but I thought there was gonna be more the sort of paneling kind of effect on the siding. I see that it's now sort of, you know, for certain areas, the entrance areas and the back door, you know, there's the paneling idea, but I sort of remembered that was also gonna apply to other parts of the building as well.
The wood paneling, the
Yeah.
wood side,
Is that,
so that's,
I
that's,
probably misread.
yeah, well, we always originally kept the square blocking in its entirety in most of the sections. We had the front, we had the Union Street entrance in the back, and then we had the rear of the building that were set up for it throughout that stayed consistent throughout the process. The intent on Union Street, where you see a lot of the block, we have Virginia creeper that we intend to plant. There's a small planting row between the sidewalk and the building that will take over that wall to become a green wall over the block. On the creek side, there's really not a lot of options to, you know, grow that type of situation and turn it into a green wall. And so the thought was to try to keep the block, the original, you know, block looks kind of nice above the first floor, but it's the lower foundation piece that's just a solid, you know, concrete
Right,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Well, you know, without having a specific proposal in front of us, it's sort of hard to
yeah,
know what you know, and
sure.
it might be one of those things, depending on what's planned, you know, that we'd want to get some public input on.
All right.
So. yeah.
Well, based on our track record, we'll be here two more times before we finish. So there'll be ample opportunity to
Okay,
discuss it.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that's, you know, kind of the mezzanine section in A 2.0 is in this set of drawings, you have more of the mezzanine complete details, construction details, a little better shape to it, a more exact and precise location of it. And so this is kind of a first look that you've had at a true and real drawing of something we'd like to build for the mezzanine.
Yeah, it seemed to me the big change on the mezzanine drawing was the big deck.
Yeah, so the intent with the big deck was to be able to facilitate another patio over a little bit overhang of the stream and be able to put potentially tables and chairs and turn that into a very nice sitting section right next to the water.
Right, right.
And so and that is actually cantilevered over. So it's directly connected to the building. It's pinned right into the basement concrete pour all the way down to the bedrock. And it's architecturally designed and engineered. And it's intended to be a black tube, you know, like kind of a thick tube frame structure. And again, a very, I'd say, modern, you know, handrail setup that's very clean, probably cable driven. And the top of the deck will be essentially the patio stone that matches.
Yeah. I was having a hard time trying to visualize, and that's probably just me. Visualize how that's gonna look from the bridge. Is there a possibility of getting a rendering that would, you know?
Front shows it.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, right, that's on this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
Yeah, it gives you,
so it sticks out quite a ways.
you have to use your imagination a little bit with the colors and the finishes and the rendering, and of course, the plantings in the back. You know, it's mostly wall. But that is intended to give you that visual that you're asking about.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And I think the size was specifically designed to be appropriate for a certain amount of seating, possibly with tables around it, yet still have applicable access to the stairway itself and to get in the door.
Yeah,
And so that was, architecturally designed for us to meet those standards.
yeah, well, okay, visually, I like that actually better than the previous one that was connected to the bridge. That always kind of seemed awkward to me, sort of
Yeah.
rough, that long sort of narrow deck that ran along the side of it, it just
Yeah.
seemed like a runway or something.
Well, it was more intended to provide access, provide ingress and egress, safety, fire, in a way to
Right.
get out of the basement. But it also was intended if there was a multi-tenant situation, you could essentially have different storefronts on the creek and signs above the doors on the creek that maybe could represent different businesses. So it was intended to actually be their front doors, possibly, if it was divided up.
Right.
But now it is committing to it each one tenant for the whole.
Yep. This week, it's committed to that.
I saw your hesitation there.
No, it's committed to that. It's definitely committed. It is. Unless you have better ideas. I mean, we're open.
Yeah.
So I think that's the exterior, what I would describe as minor changes.
Okay.
Is there any questions of any of the exterior changes other than the accessory building portion?
Well, with the accessory building, you're gonna talk about the plans for using some of the parking area, okay,
Sure.
yeah,
All good? Okay.
go ahead on that then.
All right. So if I go back to C1.1.
Yep.
It just gives you the thought process originally where the accessory building, because we have all this exterior space and, there might be furniture, there could be, landscaping, there could be a whole bunch of storage that's needed, that may be seasonal. And we're coming to the realization that an outbuilding, we call it the super shed that we've designed here, that would have flex space and be multi-purpose and could be used for different things or possibly for different needs. And the thought process was to eliminate, we had 4 EV charging parking spaces, and we had 2 formal public EV chargers that were fast chargers. And what we found is that we have EV charging at the Chevrolet dealership here down the road. And obviously there's a lot more infrastructure that's been put in around the village in the last couple of years. And so based on utilization rates, we think that, there may not be a real need, in the interim for that heavy of a charging program at this site, especially because it's so limited on parking and exterior space. And we're basically landscaping and constructing on almost 100% of the total acreage. And so the thought process was to eliminate those 2 spots in that EV charger on Union Street and put in a accessory building that could be possibly temporary vendor occupation. It could be storage. It could be indoor, outdoor space that could be customer centric. It could be used for all kinds of purposes. And I'll get into the building design in a second. But if you look at this layout, what we've done is if you look at the parking lot, there's an actual dotted line that looks like a square around the large part of the parking lot. And you have a one-page picture of just an example, a visual aid of tie downs that they have for tents that you can actually install in the parking lot with covers, where these covers can be removed and you can put up a commercially designed tent structure. And you could convert essentially the parking lot into event space for, maybe a Porch Fest or Winter Festival or some of these different things. And in addition, if you look to the right of the parking lot below the boulder, the far right, you will see that we have water and electric hookup. And so those always have been in our plan, actually. But they can be, there's plenty of 50 amp, plugins for food trucks. There's water, and it's all connected to the municipal. So what it basically does is creates this very large, expansive, multifunction outdoor space that could be used for a lot of different purposes if someone had the need to do it. And so if we flip to the actual accessory building, AKA the super shed. So let's see.
A1, okay, yeah, it's at the very end.
Very last page.
Oh, eight. Oh, okay.
Is it the last? I'm sorry. A1.0. Okay, so the idea of the accessory building has an open space concept. It would be a polished concrete floor. But it would also have finished walls, finished ceiling. So it could be used as interior space for all kinds of different things. But it would have drainage, it would act kind of as storage. You'd be able to do a lot of things in there, or you could take everything out, empty it, and have customers in there that do tastings or, eat dinner or all kinds of things. The windows that are installed in that match the main building. So they are electric, flip up, indoor, outdoor. They're the exact same company. So they're the same as you see on the front of the main building, which is just black frame and glass. And all three of those open up. And what we did was we raised the ceiling. So you kind of see a multi-ceiling angle concept that adds a lot of natural light to the space, which would be very nice. The metal roofing will match the main building, black metal roofing, same manufacturer that's on the front of the building. And then the larger part we have designed is just a green roof. So that would, be encompassed with plants that probably we feel would give a very nice appearance as you drive up Union Street, up the hill. And so the bathroom itself that we installed would be ideal for any type of indoor or outdoor usage. It could be used for maybe the EV charging side. It's a completely separate business. And the bathroom is a unisex bathroom. And because of the site, you can see where we have a little setback for a urinal and adding a little room in the corner. And that's really based on the site itself. If you look at the planning bed on that side, it's on an angle on Union Street where it turns. And so that planning bed is kind of a little bit of a V. And so it provides more depth in the back towards Union Street and less depth towards the front. And so it made for a nice setback for that bathroom, which kind of puts the urinal, back as you walk in the door.
So the elevation that one would see if they're driving up Union Street,
That would be
the right elevation?
the right elevation.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. That would be the left
The
elevation
left
5.
Okay,
If you're coming down the hill, you would see 3, the right elevation.
okay. So rear is facing the street.
Well, rear is facing the street. That's right. And it's because it's so close to the sidewalk section. The intent there is to put the glass up above the walking area so that you're not walking on a sidewalk right next to the windows,
Yeah,
and that we have a planting bed between the sidewalk and the building itself to put in some heavy vegetation.
how close is it to the sidewalk?
Well, as it's designed, I think that they're taking up the majority of what was the 2 parking spots. It was kind of the insert of the size of the building itself. And so what was previously the curb of the parking lot is now the base of the building. And so it is essentially the 2 spots plus the EV charging 5-foot strip in the center.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what the distance is between the wall of the rear and the sidewalk edge.
It looks like it's about 5 feet or so, maybe
You know, I don't know, these aren't quite to
scale.
spec here, so
Okay.
Okay.
I would refrain from answering that, but it's close. You know, I think there's definitely a couple feet of planting bed, if not more, that went to there was a light pole there that we removed. So, but I can get you that answer. And we have some flexibility to position that appropriately. I'm not sure the setback on Union Street.
Being the side with there on Union Street, the setback is 5 feet
Okay,
for.
with the sidewalk?
From the side. It'd be
Okay.
5 feet from the side,
So the sidewalk plus another 5.
yes.
Okay.
I think generally on that topic, I thought it would be helpful. Maybe it's not needed. If it was a setback or zoning issue, I thought it would be helpful to see how the building relates to the sidewalk. So for example, on your left elevation or your right elevation, if you sort of extended that drawing to show where the sidewalk is in relationship to the building, because I don't know how much higher up the sidewalk is. And like you said, you know, maybe it's like 5 feet off or like I said, maybe it's like 5 feet off or something like that already. I thought it might be helpful to understand that relationship, but if it meets the zoning requirements, maybe that drawing isn't as necessary. It was just a thought I had.
Sure.
Would the sidewalk be level with the foundation of the building or is it higher?
No, so the sidewalk is on a hill. So the sidewalk goes up the hill and the building would be level with the parking lot there. And so I kind of think the building would be lower than the side, yes. And towards the east side of the building, it would be, you know, considerably a couple feet lower. Yes, so having the windows up higher on that side, I think is the right way to do it. And then have some heavy vegetation that just separates the building from the sidewalk.
So looking at rear elevation, the number 4 here, how high up is that stone veneer? Before the actual siding starts?
So I don't think that's really been decided. That can be open for interpretation.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
as the sidewalk increases, you know, we don't want it to essentially, I wouldn't think anybody would want to kind of like start taking over the siding aspect.
Yeah,
So if it, as you're increasing the sidewalk, is the stone veneer still gonna be
right.
visible?
Yeah, so the intent of this building was to, so like the dumpster enclosure is all new stone.
Yeah.
And then the building is old stone and has the siding. And the intent of the exterior of this building was to try to merge the whole site together with all those finishes. And so the thought process was to have the stone come up higher than just a couple of feet. And then have, under the window, however, so the windows, although I guess the stone could come around the windows, I think the thought was to keep the windows in the wooded area. But it's a great question, and it is not, I guess, decided the exact height. It could be anything.
All right, thank you.
How does this relate to all the like stormwater runoff mitigation planning we've been doing? So I feel like that's
Yeah.
right in that area where the water would just.
Yeah,
be
no,
rushing
well,
in.
this is actually in the driest spot. So all of the water that hits the site either runs down Union Street, if it's on this past the curb site from the sidewalk, all that water does not come on the site. That water runs down into the drainage towards Main Street. The water that does hit the site primarily, or that may come a little bit over the hill, heads to our drainage plan, which is in here, that catches all of the water from the parking lot, but it moves towards the creek, not towards Union Street.
This won't change the curb cut, right?
Nope, nope. This is just a placement of where that EV charging station was.
Is the parking lot gravel or gonna be black?
It's blacktop.
It's gonna be black.
And so that's, I think, in a, summary, what we've had here to present today. And I will add that the accessory building, I have recently, because these are fresh, also just sent it over to our neighbor to get some comments and input and concerns, if any. And so,
I was gonna ask,
yeah, just make sure, everyone in the neighborhood is in agreement about it, but
Well, all right,
otherwise, I think we'd like to build it.
yeah. Okay, I think one of the things we're gonna need to resolve before we can do anything is whether there is a zoning issue, a setback issue for that accessory building. I've had some preliminary conversations with Mike about that, and I know he's talked to the zoning board chair. There's some stuff that's kind of up in the air in terms of how the zoning ordinance works, because what setbacks are required depend on whether something is front, side, rear. This is a corner.
It's a corner lot.
And so it has special, specifications, basically. And I'm not sure that we've had an adequate chance to sort of decide whether that is gonna require zoning board consideration for a variance, if necessary, or for alteration, so there is no variance necessary, or how that exactly is gonna be handled. But we'll need a determination on that before we can, sort of do the site plan aspect of things. We're sort of prohibited from doing any site plan review on something unless all of the variance issues have been resolved. So that might be a step that has to happen before we can go forward on the accessory building. So I think what I'm gonna do is defer that until we can get a more definitive sense from the zoning board. How they think that should be handled, and whether or not a variance is necessary, and if so, to what extent. Because like I said, it's a corner lot, and that gets sort of special consideration in the ordinance itself. We don't concern ourselves with that very much, so we don't have a lot of experience looking at that stuff, and that's why I wanted to get Mike and the zoning board involved. But that could be some, another hurdle that needs to be jumped over before we can assess that particular part of the plan. As to the other things, I think all of them are right for, moving ahead through our fluid site plan process. And scheduling a public hearing as we usually do, so the public has a chance to look at the plans and react, and then decide whether we can approve those other changes.
Okay,
Okay?
sure. If I have questions, ones that incorporate.
Oh, anytime. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I just was like, noticing things in the drawings that have probably been covered before my time here, but they were general questions and they don't have to be answered. Some of them are sort of for our group and others might be clarification questions for you. But I'll just go through quick. Rick made a comment about the, I guess you were calling it the mezzanine patio, the stairway that came down. Personally, I think it would be wonderful to sit and overlook the creek and enjoy whatever the property has to offer. But I was wondering if there's any issues with how far a structure covers up a creek. I think it's just a general question that maybe I will personally look into for like the public hearing meeting. Perhaps maybe I would come back with anything important to share on that. I think it's helpful to just look at it in context of the width of the entire creek and really be like, well, does 8 feet matter? Does it not matter? And maybe the public does or does not have an opinion on that.
Let me just quicken there too. Now, I know that the Army Corps of Engineers.
We still have an open permit with them.
You have an open permit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will allow that.
Yeah, so all of the foundation work that we've done there has been on an open permit with the Army Corps.
Mhm.
The property line is actually the center line of the creek. So the creek is technically private property. However, it is on a waterway map that is controlled by the Army Corps of Engineer.
Mm.
And so we do have an ongoing and open permit with them for this project.
And the elevation of the bottom of that patio is outside of the floodplain, so it wouldn't necessarily involve their.
Well, I guess it would depend on their opinion about it.
Yeah.
Theoretically, the Army Corps of Engineer is in charge of what's in the water line, under the water, and would theoretically go over the water. If it's a controlled waterway,
Mm.
it's more in relationship to docks, jetties, bridges, is more the fundamental reason for that
Right.
purpose. This particular project has the open permit, and it was very questionable about where the high water mark actually is on this
Yeah.
particular creek.
Mhm.
But we did the permit anyway. And so I guess they have some discretion on if they feel that it's in their purview to add to the permit or not.
Okay, but you have that contact information, you're in contact with them.
Yeah, we currently have an open permit for all of the work that we've done on the creek and the
Okay.
lower section of the bump out of the patio that used to be where the property, what happened was the fill was just pushed over the edge and went right into the creek. And so the back of the creek was essentially fill that just was overgrown with vegetation, but went right into the water.
Mhm.
And so what we did is we pulled that originally back and put in the stone retaining wall that you see there now, which is the guillotine stone.
And before your permit is closed, would someone from the Army Corps of Engineer come and review the site? That's a part of their process.
So we went through that process originally
Oh,
and,
okay.
yep, and they do have the mezzanine, they have the entire project, the original one.
Mhm.
And yeah, we should probably update them with just this current plan
Yeah.
to see if there is they decide that it should be in their purview or not. But-
Okay,
but it's
Yeah.
a good question.
Let us know, how that goes, because one of the other things that constrains us in approving things is we have to know that all the other required permits and allowances have been, set up. So we do need to get what the Army Corps final view on that would be, even if it's just, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Under the permit.
right. Yeah, to be cautious, we can update them with just the added size compared to the original 6 foot or 8 foot or whatever the original one was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, these are, maybe comments that were covered in previous versions of your design, and maybe they've already been approved. On A1.2, I was just looking at the number of doorways for the street. So I'm counting one like Main Street door. The second one is that service door. The third one is the door not on Main Street, on Union Street.
Union Street.
And then the fourth one is the rear door. And the building's always had at least 4 doors, entry doors, right? Like in the iterations that have been approved in the past.
Yeah, all the current doors listed here have been approved in the past.
Okay.
The original building did not have
Right.
maybe 1 or 2 of these Union Street doors. I
Yeah.
don't remember if it had any Union Street doors. I think it just had the back and the front.
Okay.
And the corner, I guess, is a Union Street / Main Street door.
And then I was looking at the right elevation. Someone else had asked about stormwater. I noticed that the gutter for the roof just comes down and goes into the creek. I'm assuming that gutter has always been there, but I just wanted to raise that as an item, just making sure that water doesn't need any treatment or anything because it's coming off the roof instead of coming over the surface of a parking lot where the parking lot is treated,
Yeah.
obviously, with your system in the back.
Yet, well, there is no gutter system. So the water pours directly off the roof into the creek
Mm,
without a gutter,
got it.
which kind of creates a lot of problem to the actual structure.
Yeah.
This is not precise with the actual gutter plan. There's actually 2 downspouts based on the square footage of the roof.
Okay.
Needs 2 spouts and one is actually comes down, there's a cutback in the back of the building. There's the structure cuts back, I
Mhm.
think 1.5 feet, 2 feet, and then goes again.
Mhm.
And the concrete is actually poured now, so that wall is now flushed up to create a nice mezzanine face.
Hmm.
And so that's what's been recently poured. And there's actually the gutter system will go down the corner of the building and it actually feeds into the new concrete pour. And that actually spouts out. There'll be a small hole, underneath the mezzanine
Okay.
that will release the water. And generally, it's my understanding that there's no need to filter roof rainwater.
Okay. The only reason why I make this comment is just for making sure that your building is going to look great in the long term as the public obviously looks at it from the bridge. I noticed that all of the metal on the mezzanine area and the patio is just going to be painted. I know depending on how you perform the paint, it could be a heavy maintenance item for owners to make sure there's no rust and stuff like that. I'm just bringing that up. I'm sure whatever the architect is specifying is probably like extremely durable, but I'm just bringing it up
Yeah.
to make sure there's not going to be like a rust issue or a maintenance item.
Yes, yeah, so I think it's a little bit of a placeholder that was spec'd here. So he's potentially working with a company called Cuca Studios
Mhm.
that's done quite a bit of railing systems through the Finger Lakes.
Yeah, they would know best. Yeah.
And we're most likely going to go with a cable inset railing. So you would have the black, metal, if they're aluminum or powder coat or whatever they are,
Mhm.
will be a black structure that goes with the black tube frame of the mezzanine itself. And then we would have cable, just so we have a better visual through the railings and that it doesn't impede anywhere on the project of people looking at the view or the creeks, looking down at the creek.
Yep.
Yeah, so, but Russ, certainly, thank you for that, and that's our intent, is to have the project, I think, last for a very long time, for
Yeah.
generations to come. And interestingly enough, the foundation work that we've done, we've lowered the basement on the interior. We've removed the basement floor, we've lowered the basement enough to where we can have a completely finished basement space. And we've repinned, we'll have it re-poured at some point. The sprinkler system will be put in. And essentially what happens is this foundation could essentially, in the future, someone could tear the first floor off and utilize all of the foundation work that we've done on the creek through the Army Corps of Engineer work and the basement work, where they could build a multi-story building and not have to go through, all of the problems that we've, been doing now. So it's kind of future proofed for, next generation, future expansion of the building going up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the last comment I had on this page was, I'm a landscape architect. I love plants and vegetation, and I would think it's wonderful, that you have so many plants in the plan. There's 2 trees, on either side of that service door. I just want to make sure those trees have enough soil to really thrive. Again, like sort of like the rust comment, just making sure, they're gonna look great. So hopefully that works
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and on that note, the landscape plan that you see here does not match what you see on site, because it's been quite a bit of a design build situation.
Process, yeah.
There's a lot of similar plants, or the plants that are listed here,
Mhm.
but there'll be, probably 20 times what's listed when it's all finished. And on the Union Street side, I will say that the soil is very difficult. And so that may be an area where, that planning may not work
Yeah,
because of how thin it is and what's there, how
Yeah.
much stone is below.
I'm excited to
But,
see it.
but we're also happy that if you have some input, Mike has our landscape person that is there daily. His name is David Hobbs.
Mhm.
And we welcome your input if you ever want to stop by, or if you have some interest in what is planted, by all means, please email us, and looking for great ideas. So love to include you.
Great, no,
Give me this.
Did you see
Yeah.
that back here, all the different things that you did?
I did. No, I'm really excited. I mean, there's lots that I'm excited about, for this project.
It's to a point where he puts them in and he's like, oh, wait, this is wrong. He takes them out, put in something different. So
Yeah.
it's going, 10 feet by 10 feet. And
Jimmy's note, and I'm just saying this because I'm having a personal experience, the ivy won't, like, compromise the integrity of that brick, will it? Because I'm
Yeah.
actually having to have ivy taken off my chimney because our home insurance company won't renew our home insurance policy until we do.
yeah, so that's a great question. That it will not hurt the main structure building block. We will not plant it on the dumpster enclosure, as that is actually stuck against concrete block, and that can peel the rocks off, get through the cracks. The building will be okay. And what we're using is a Virginia, I forget the name, but it's a version of Virginia creeper that is not as aggressive. It's like a Chinese variegated white leaf version of Virginia creeper. It's just more docile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one I have is very aggressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It looks beautiful though, I'm sure.
I know, it does. gonna really change the front of our house.
Looking into the future and knowing from personal experience the need to maintain landscaping, who will be responsible for the maintenance of that extensive landscaping effort?
Well, it'll be I think a team effort. You know, there's a lot of ambition from the people that have been a part of the project, you know, where this project started. Why it's been so long is that it's just been a design build from starting to fix the roof. And
Yeah.
here we are today. And it's really just a culmination of a lot of people that I work with on an ongoing basis to do a lot of projects. But the projects that we do are commercial, retail, commercial oriented, and they're not nearly as fun, or people have the ability to use their imagination and do what they want. And this particular project was putting those people together originally and saying, hey, you know, you do this, you're the specialist, you do all the masonry, go do whatever you want and just make it amazing. And you do the plants, just go do whatever you want and make it amazing. And so all these people have just been having a lot of fun. And so to answer your question, I don't know long-term, you know, what the long-term future holds. I would hope that whoever occupies the building would certainly see, you know, the upkeep will be certainly required if we were to lease it, or if we didn't own it. You know, I couldn't comment if there was, you know, some other ownership. But as long as we have it, we're certainly going to make sure it stays nice.
And I'm almost done, I promise.
That's okay.
I'm looking at C1.0. It doesn't necessarily matter that you flip to the right sheet. I know we're tabling the conversation about the accessory building at this time until zoning has been verified. I think in a situation where you're not utilizing the entire parking lot as an event space, I am thinking about circulation conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles, depending on how, you know, well utilized that parking lot is for patrons. So for example, if you had the accessory building open for whatever the accessory function is, but you also have the parking lot open, the only concern I have would be any conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles.
Yeah, so what is on here, but it's very difficult to see if you look at the entrance of the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have actually designed, there will be 2 hitching posts, old stone hitching posts that are faced inward to each other on both sides of the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And the intent there is that we would close the entire parking lot
For an event.
and just, you know, put the rope across, closed, and the entire parking lot would not be available for automobiles.
Got it.
So, yeah, but the intent really is to not know what,
But Jimmy, you mean like day to day, if there's whatever's happening in there?
Yeah,
like, with-
yeah.
Separate from a special event, like
Right.
if there's some
If-
small business running.
the intent, if there was a special event, would be to close the entire parking lot.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then the last question I had was, do you have any lighting revisions to the outdoor area that might go along with the revisions to the outdoor area? And the reason why I asked that question is because for the same reason why you're checking in with the neighbors, just making sure that we're not gonna blind anybody accidentally with a light or something like that. So-
Yeah, we did an entire lighting plan that was originally was all dark sky lighting compliant. All of the lights that are outdoor are dark sky compliant,
Okay,
and the light poles are shorter, dark sky compliant. And so, yeah,
got it. So those standards have been maintained, even if light poles might have shifted to accommodate the new design.
it was a big focus specifically with the neighbor compared to the existing situation and how intrusive the light is,
Mhm.
you know, to them. And so we worked, you know, closely with them and the planning board to ensure that was not an issue.
Awesome. Okay, no further questions. Thank
That's
you.
all right. It's okay.
Would you like an opportunity to cross anyone? All right. Okay, any other questions for Phil? Okay, so I think we're going to set up a public hearing for our next meeting on the it would be for purposes of the expanded deck and the other minor alterations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
August 27th?
If that's the fourth week of
Yeah.
yep, then that'll be it.
Is there a possibility that the zoning review would happen in time for that meeting as well, or can that not be determined?
I think it could be conceivably, if we get we don't need to do anything on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they do say, well, we'll have to have a variance application, then we'll just have to wait for that process to play out
Okay,
and see what that'll look like. You know, a lot of times, you know, they sort of do a variance that has conditions or,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. So, yeah, so we'll just have to wait on that one until, you know, we see that and depending on what they do, we may be able to, you know, fold that into the public hearing. But we don't actually have to give a notice for that until, I think, what is it? 10 days before, yeah, so, you know, we should know by then.
Okay.
What the zoning board, you know, preliminarily thinks. I mean, he can't, you know, the chair of the zoning board can't speak for the board.
right.
You know. Yeah,
Just had a quick thought on if we do need a variance for some reason. Would it be okay, Mike, if we get maybe a conversation going about signage and just make sure that there are no other variances that we may need in the future?
Yes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, you know, everything else that you've done is either not within the footprint or it was an existing footprint, you know, with the exception of the mezzanine in that area. So there was not any need, you know, there's no need for a variance on an existing building unless you're expanding or doing something like that. But when you put up another building, an accessory building, then, you know, that has to meet the setback requirements and things like that.
It's not an accessory building, it's a super shed.
Get it right.
Accessory structures.
Right. Just so it's not an accessory dwelling,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
don't have those in the village right now, theoretically, yeah, so. All right. All right, any other thoughts?
What is this picture?
Oh, which is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this
That's a library exhibit that.
That is a visual aid of a tie down that would go in the parking lot
Mm.
where it's incorporated into the parking and then paved around. And so you just see options of cover,
Oh, I
they're
see.
powder coated covers. And they're just flip up tabs to tie down the tent.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And we do have I do have a hand sketch, just to give you an example, if you'd like. It's not really for the, I guess, submission, and there's not one for everybody, but we can share it. So it's all over. It's just some stone sketches of like the movies, fireplace. Some of the things the teams just kind of. Some example pictures that was more for them for building.
Mhm.
But the handwritten drawings, it's kind of getting an idea of what the stonemasons are thinking about and what some of the specialty items.
Anyone else want to take a look?
I've heard a lot of complimentary comments about the stonework. So please pass those along to your masons. Yeah.
Trying to move closer to Elizabeth City.
Yeah.
Have you got a better vision of what the potential uses are gonna be of the main building?
I think it's clearly becoming, something that is very specific. Again, there's still a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different things with the property.
Yeah,
It's certainly gonna be a place where people will enjoy the outdoor areas. And so I think
puts it in a certain category for sure.
Uh-huh.
It's great event space. It could be retail, event space, it could be really a lot of things. So it doesn't have a tenant, doesn't have a specific purpose, and, we really haven't been actively, although we had some conversations, different, opportunities. We haven't been actively trying to find, the usage yet, just because it's still developing what it is.
And that may not enable you to answer this question either, but, do you have in mind a timeline?
Yeah, so, it was a year ago, that we were gonna be done, and, really, I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna see a lot happen in the next, several weeks. So the carpentry team will be on site, I think, tomorrow, and so all the siding will find will be.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot better, outside of the building. And then as far as the snow basins go, they're moving along all the way through the month of August. And now they're finalized down, so they're just finishing the final touches of all the lower patio work, which I would describe as more than, 60%. With all the walls and structures that had to go in. Like as an example, the wall that is, runs across the parking lot. That goes to the dumpster enclosure that's connected. Was actually configured not only as a double-sided stone wall, but it has steel pillars that are driven down to the bedrock.
I
And
saw
all
that.
tied together with concrete, so that they act as an actual guard of a car accidentally running over. The cliff, that were guardrail, strength. And so they don't, go over and end up on the back or something. So all of that infrastructure was very slow, it's very cold weather. That there was a public setback at the bottom. So if anything is delayed, it will be. Super shed and the rest of the issue.
Right. Okay,
Hopefully we'll get it done.
right. Keep these? Or do you want them
Yeah,
back?
no, you can keep them, they're not really for public, they're just specials.
Yeah.
For you guys,
Okay.
we have other topics.
All right, we'll keep a hold of them then. Okay. All right, any other things for Phil?
Not for Phil.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Take care. I'll be in touch.
They loved it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. That's good. Very good.
Bye-bye, thanks, Don. Okay, let's see, we are done with that. We'll schedule a public hearing for, the August meeting. I don't think there's any old business or new business unless.
I was just gonna report from CPCR that,
Thank you.
they officially are, the trustees are holding off on approving commercial until industrial is done, so they can do it all as a package, since there's so much things that interrelate. So they decided to, I think part of why it was moving more quickly was because we're trying to do things related to 16 Elm to,
Right.
but that was ended up being dealt with separately. And so I think then just, yeah. So, I think they've read all our comments and all that, but it's gonna be a couple months before industrial's done, and then I think they'll do revisions. So
Yeah,
that's all.
Good to know. All right, well, thank you for participating in that.
Sure.
And keeping us up to date.
And Rick, thanks for writing up our
Yes.
memo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we'll see,
You
Sometimes,
said it better than I could.
yeah, well, sometimes those things, are, they have some impact, sometimes they just go into a black hole, but, when you get to be my age, you get used to that. So, all right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'm a second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Should be here,
Yeah.
All right.